What's up, guys? Welcome into episode 98 of the Missed Call Podcast. This is Cubwood here with Sauce Artori, and we are also here with special guest from North Carolina Courage, Sinclaire Miramontez. How are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
It is hard to say.
It is. It's a little challenging the first time.
Literally just got done talking about how it's an easy name to say, and then here I am, as I'm saying, going, oh no, I'm going to mess it up.
Absolute botch job. Way to go, Cub. Good way to start episode 98. Sinclaire, we're so excited to have you on. You got to participate in one of the last sporting events, if you will, before we hit this crazy lockdown in the NWSL. I wanted to make sure I got that right the first time. But you got to participate in the draft, and you were drafted 27th overall by the NC Courage. We're fascinated with the behind the scenes type stuff. So can we talk about, I guess, the weeks leading up to the draft, when you knew you might be drafted, and then, of course, the draft night itself?
Yeah. So we got done with college season at the end of October. So after that, it was just kind of waiting for when the draft portal would open up where you could go ahead and register and put your name in. And I think that was in the beginning of December. So you could start registering at the beginning of December, and then the draft was mid-January.
Okay.
So throughout that whole process and or that whole time period, I was just consistently training, trying to keep my fitness up, everything like that. I was also finishing school because I graduated in December of 19.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Luckily, I was one of the lucky few that got a graduation ceremony. Sorry, class of 2020. But
you didn't have to put up with one of those annoying drive-bys where everybody's honking for a half hour.
That is true. Sorry?
I said the class of 2020 is getting slideshows for graduation.
Yeah, they are.
You want to know what I put?
What'd you put?
I put subscribe to the Missed Call Podcast and follow us at Call Podcast.
There you go. Hey, free advertising.
Exactly.
Yeah. So December was kind of a busy month for me, trying to move back to Kansas City from Lincoln, finishing up school, trying to get ready for the draft and everything like that. And so one of my old club coaches, he used to be the GM for FC Kansas City, which was a team in the league, which folded, I think it was 3 years ago, and they are actually now the Utah Royals.
Okay.
And so he was very familiar with everything and how the league works. He's still in contact with a lot of the GMs and the coaches. And so I was fortunate that he was willing to call them, advocate to teams as to why they should draft me, or if I wasn't going to get drafted, why I should get invited to one of their camps. Same goes for my college coach. He was calling coaches and GMs every day for weeks. So very, very thankful. They, my assistant coach at Nebraska also put together my highlight film to send to everybody, which was great. So I'm very thankful for them. And so it's just a lot of trying to, get yourself in really great shape, but then also try and get your name out there.
Right.
So as far as making highlight tapes, putting together films, sending it to everybody, that's a lot of the things that go in behind the scenes on that. And then I didn't really know if I was going to get drafted. We didn't have a strong season in the fall, but I was still I still had a really good college career. So it was kind of like, okay, we didn't have a great season my senior year, but I was still one of the players that was kind of contended at my position, where it was like, okay, there's still a possibility here. And so, there's a lot of soccer analysts that come out with mock drafts and everything like that. But I mean, you never really know.
Look like for you?
So there was one of them that I think had me like right outside of the draft numbers at around like 40. So like not going to get drafted, but would probably be one of the first people contacted after the draft to come into training camp.
Okay.
And then there was another analyst. I think he had me like 15th overall or something like that. Or just like on player rankings. But I mean, I really didn't try to get caught up in that because, again, like you really don't know what's going to happen until like if your name's actually called. Exactly. Right. So, I mean, while sometimes it's nice and sometimes those guys really do get it right. you kind of have to just block that out and just go with. I mean, you just kind of got to go with the process and just trust it and just know that everything's going to work out in the end. So my college coach actually called me the day before the draft, and he had just gotten off the phone with a couple of the coaches in the league, and he was saying, I really have a good feeling you will be either a late second round pick or a mid third round pick. I'm like, okay. So, but like, again, I really was like, I don't know, there's coaches that are probably telling him, okay, yeah, like we want to draft her, but you never know if another player that they didn't think they were going to get is still on the board by the time that their draft pick comes up. I mean, you just never know. And a lot of the time it just comes down to what a team needs. And so then we get to draft day. And I was at my house in Kansas City with my sister and my mom. So that's all I had with me. I thought about going to the draft, but I was also like, I'm so not sure if it really is going to happen. I was like, I'm not going to spend $1,000 to fly there, and then if my name's not called, then I'm kind of like, no, that was really awkward. But
at the altar.
Exactly. So they live stream the draft, and everybody always thinks that it's exactly like the NFL draft, where it's you get the call like from the coach right before they draft you. No, it's not always how it happens, or maybe it's just wasn't for me. I don't really know. So during it, my club coach that I had mentioned earlier, the one that had been in the league before, he was texting me the entire draft, and he's like predicting on what teams are going to take which players, or why they're calling timeouts in the draft, and who's trying to trade with who.
Timeouts?
Oh yeah, there's timeouts in the draft where I think it's like each team gets one timeout per draft, and I think it's actually only like an extra 2 to 5 minutes, somewhere in between.
Okay.
And so there was a couple of those timeouts in which teams just wanted more time to try and make a trade deal. And so there was at one point during the draft where my coach texted me, and there was a team that was trying to take a timeout, and they were trying to make a deal to trade up to apparently get me. This is all coming from him, so I don't really know.
Okay.
And, so he texts me, and he goes, I just got off the phone with this owner. They really want to draft you. Can you play this position? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, I can do it. But then the trade didn't work out. The other team didn't want to give up their draft spot.
Okay.
And so then by the end of that second round, he texted me again, and he said, North Carolina is going to draft you. And so I was not like super, like I knew it was coming. So he texted me this at the end of the second round, and North Carolina is the last pick of the third round and the first pick of the fourth round. And so, so I think the second round ended around, I think it's pick 19. Yeah, something like that. And so he was like, barring any more teams that draft you, like North Carolina is going to draft you. And so I had to sit through the whole third round. And as soon as I heard it was North Carolina, I was so excited. I was like, this is a great organization to go to, going to be learning from some of the best. So I was like really excited about it. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I hope not to knock any of the other teams, but I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I hope no one else drafts me. Like I kind of am already like in the zone of like, okay, I'm going to North Carolina. And so we're just like sitting on the couch waiting for each pick to come. And in the weeks prior, my college coach had called me and said, hey, this team's interested in you. This one's more serious about you. And all of those teams had draft picks before North Carolina. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I could be, I don't know. But then I think once we hit pick 25, after that one, I knew the next team wasn't going to draft me. And so then I was like, okay, I know I'm going to North Carolina.
Here we go.
And then ends up being last pick of the third round, and we're all screaming in the house, we're jumping around and everything. But what a lot of people don't know, and I actually think this is really cool, So like I said, North Carolina had the first pick in the 4th round, and they end up drafting my club teammate from high school, who we had been training together throughout the whole offseason, going through this process together.
No way.
And so, yeah, so we both get to play together again. Both got drafted out there. We were actually roommates out there while we were out there. And
is that Addison?
Addison Merrick, yep.
Okay.
And so we're just calling each other. We're so excited. We're screaming congratulations at each other, and we couldn't believe it. This is something we dreamed about. We never thought we'd go to the same team, much less back-to-back picks together. I mean, that's just something so cool that we got to share together.
It's almost like an eternal bond in a way. It's like that being back-to-back and training so much and now getting to start your professional careers together. It's like, all right, I guess we're in this together.
Yeah, and I mean, we grew up with each other. We played against each other since, oh gosh, we've talked about this too. I think age 10 is when we started playing against each other, and then we were on the same team since age 12.
Wow. Okay, so you guys go back.
Yeah, we go back.
Like my hairline.
Hey, you said it.
I just gotta rock it, man. I gotta rock it.
There you go.
That's an awesome story, though. And that draft process has just got to be mind-boggling. I can't imagine it, and I'll never be able to imagine it because I doubt anybody's drafting me anytime soon, even though I'm wearing this Combine hoodie. But that's an awesome story, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Did you ever think of like texting your coach, be like, hey, and like pull a Johnny Manziel, text him like, hey, I'm ready to go. Can they just draft me?
No, that never once crossed my mind, because I mean, just in the draft process, you're just so thankful to be in it. I had no idea if I was even going to be drafted, so I was not in any position to be making demands or anything like that.
I'm like, hey, Mel Kiper said I gotta go.
Yeah. Now you're drafted to North Carolina, the Courage, which is home to 5 women's national team players, and 2 of them are defenders. You yourself are a defender. So in this first year that you're going to get to learn from Abby Dahlkemper and Crystal Dunn, what are you going to be focusing on?
I think just a lot of it is going to be just tactical sensing, and even like learning even more how to understand the game and how to read different positionings on the field. Both of those players are exceptional players, and I'm very, very excited to learn from them and just be able to grow as a player. And just being in the same training environment as some of the top players in the world is just amazing. And I think that is going to help me so much develop. But definitely from like a tactical side and understanding spatial awareness and what are the best points to attack and how to make the other team's offense kind of like bite into what you're doing or fall for the tactics that you're doing. I think that's going to be really huge to learn from them, and they're both just such smart players, so it's going to be an awesome opportunity.
I've always found it fascinating to watch soccer players play their game, because I could never do it, especially for the duration of the game and all of the space that you have to cover on the pitch. As a defender, I can't imagine how difficult it is.
Yeah, it's challenging for sure. I mean defense, yes, we do cover a lot of ground. I will say I don't do nearly as much of running as like the midfielders do, though. They deserve their own award for the amount of work that they do. But yeah, I mean, essentially, our entire half is what I have to cover. Just being and also just not only just covering the ground, but being able to organize the people in front of me and give information to them and direct them on where they need to go and which spaces they also need to cover. So it's a lot of like the mental side of it too that is just draining as well.
And go ahead, Cub.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna. The only thing else I was gonna say is I think to a novice soccer fan, a lot of times it looks like it's just see the ball, kick the ball, and keep moving. But there is so much. There is so much game planning and tactical, like you said, tactical awareness that goes into the game in order for a team to be successful.
Absolutely, and I mean I know in college I especially was doing a lot of film review leading up to games against specific teams, and then even after those games, going back and watching film just to see what I was doing well and what I wasn't, and how I could fix that before the next game. And so I know that's going to be huge going in with North Carolina as well, probably even more reliant, especially on film. And honestly, film is one of the best ways to learn, because you can go back and watch it in every sport. Absolutely. And so definitely to young novice players, not just soccer players, but novice players of any sport, definitely go back and watch film, because it's the easiest way to learn. You can go back and watch it 50 times. You can slow it down, everything like that. You can just see yourself and look for specific instances that are just going to be key. So then, like in soccer, if there's a wide open space, I should be attacking more. Specifically, when this one player moves out of it, then that's going to be really good for me to learn, so the next time I know to look for it.
That's interesting stuff. We're both novice soccer fans. This is all
we're novice soccer fans. We're even more novice soccer players.
This is a quick and easy way to learn, I promise.
So Sinclair, in your junior year, you tore your ACL, and then you missed the whole season. You came back your senior year, and you earned second team All Big Ten. I want to know, what was it like to go through all that hard work to come back and then hear your name on draft day? That had to be like a wave of emotion.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it is. It is a really honest. It's very emotional to talk about. And so if I cry, I apologize.
No, it's all good.
We're crying. We're all criers.
So yeah, junior year, we're 20 minutes into a game at Wisconsin. There's 3 or 4 games left in the conference season.
And you guys are battling for a playoff spot at that point.
Not during this game yet. I think we were still middle of. I think we're around like 5th or 6th at this point.
Okay.
So I go into a or kind of like a shoulder battle with a forward. This is something I've done 1,000 times in my career, and it just was the weirdest thing. You know, we hit shoulders. My legs stepped off in a different direction. My foot got caught, and then it just. As I was falling, when my foot was caught, you hear a couple pops, and I mean, everybody always talks about you hear the pops, and immediately, like, I'm on the ground, my leg's in pain, I'm screaming, because I'm like, I know what it is, and so I'm just like frustrated. I'm trying to get it out. It's cold too, so I'm just like laying on cold ground. The play is still going on. The ref didn't stop the game, so we had to wait. So I'm just laying on the ground. They're still playing the game. We had to wait till the ball went out for a goal kick, and then the ref stops the time. One of my teammates is like running over to me. She's like, what is it? I'm like, it's my knee. And then we get the trainer out. We get our strength coach. He helps carry me off. Walk over, trainer checks my knee out. And it's the worst part when the trainer starts crying, because you're just like, oh, man.
Like, all the hope that I had is just gone.
Exactly. And so,
like, if the doctor walks up and goes,
yeah, it's basically how this was. And she goes, you know, I won't know for sure until we get an MRI, but if I would say it's your ACL. And, you know, at that point, you want to just like sit and feel sorry for yourself. But there was a freshman that got thrown into my position. She hadn't had much game experience, and I was kind of like, you know what, I can be sad and cry about this after the game. But I got to be able to support my teammates. So they get me a chair. One of my teammates gives me her coats, because, like I said, it's freezing outside.
You're in Madison, Wisconsin.
We're in Madison, Wisconsin. I don't really wear layers during soccer games either. And so I had brought like no layers. So, and they have ice on my knee too. So I'm just shivering.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to like help communicate with them and everything. And we ended up losing the game 1-0, which was unfortunate. And then that was that was not our only game, but it was our only away game that weekend. We had a home game on Sunday. So luckily we flew back the next morning. I got an MRI right away. Knew by that day, yes, it was ACL meniscus, which it would have sucked to have to like sit through the whole weekend of like not knowing. So very glad we got back, and we were able to figure it out by the next day.
So before we move on real quick, I don't mean to cut you off. It was ACL and meniscus.
Mm-hmm.
Now we hear a lot with those meniscus tears where you can either tear through the meniscus or the meniscus tears away from the knee, which is, I believe the latter is much worse. Do you know about which type of meniscus tear you had?
I think I just had to tear through. Because
Okay.
because they were able to save my meniscus and they just had to trim it up a little bit.
Okay.
They just took the part that, trimmed it up a little bit. So, we get to, I think by the end of that season, we lost in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. And then I had surgery, I think it was like a week after that. And so I was on crutches for 4 weeks. And because I couldn't walk, because when you have meniscus, you usually have to go non-weight bearing. But so I actually got an electric scooter to get around campus, which was great. Had a nice little horn on it, so people were in my way. I would just start beeping on it. It's also cold in Lincoln during the winter time, so this got me to class faster, which I was totally fine with. But honestly, that was the best part of ACL recovery was that scooter. But you kind of have to mentally prepare yourself of this is going to be about 9 months of I have to go to rehab every single day. I have to push myself to get better and to get stronger. And a lot of the times you don't want to do that. I mean, sometimes you just go into this pit of I want to feel sorry for myself. I don't want to do this. This is so hard. I basically had to relearn how to walk because I didn't walk for 4 weeks, and I lost all the muscle in my leg too. So I had to rebuild that up. And it's really frustrating when you can't get your body to do the simple things. So for me, I couldn't sit normally in a chair during class. I was so uncomfortable. So for the first week to 2 after having surgery, I didn't really go to class because I was like, I can't sit in these chairs for hour and 15 minutes because it's so uncomfortable to do. And so, I mean, but there's at some point you kind of just have to kick yourself and be like, I'm not going to just sit here and do nothing anymore. I want to try to get better. I want to get back out on the field. My biggest goal for me was I wanted to have my senior season when I was supposed to have my senior season, and I wanted to go out with my class. That was my biggest motivating factor for it. And so, like I said, you got to go to rehab every single day, and you're in the rehab room by yourself while all your teammates are at practice, and it sucks. It's not easy. Anybody who's been through a surgical injury, I feel for you. It's not fun. It's definitely not fun, but I was really fortunate. I had a great support staff at Nebraska. One of our student trainers, every day she'd try to give me a motivational quote to get me through rehab. And the best one by far was, it's simple. You either do it or you don't. We would laugh about it. And we'd use that to the new exercise we had to go through. She'd go, all right, Sink, it's simple. You either do it or you don't. And then that would kind of just kind of challenge me a little bit, which was kind of how I got back into really pushing myself. Was like, I was so used to being a competitive athlete and competing every single day. Well, now I just have to learn how to compete against myself and how to push myself and everything like that. And so I'm very thankful for them. And I was able to get cleared for full contact the very first day of preseason in August. And
that's awesome.
Played in the game 4 days later, and haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because I find sports psychology to be very interesting, and not a lot of people care and want to know. But that's so hard to do. How many people tear their ACL? One, Sauce's dream is to tear his ACL. Actually,
well, hold on.
I don't think you want that to be your dream.
Hold on, it's not a dream. I think we can think of some better things. It's definitely not a dream, but I guess I've always been curious of what that's like, right? I don't actively find ways to be like, if I bang on my knee long enough, will my AC, you know what I mean? But it's like, if it were to happen, what is that like? Is I guess something that I've been curious about.
I mean, honestly, I'm not going to say I willfully wanted this to happen, but I know exactly what you mean. I've wondered what it's like to be away from something you love for so long. And I would never wish it on anyone, but I've definitely had a lot of friends prior to me tearing my ACL having to go through that. And I really didn't realize how much of a struggle and how difficult mentally it was until you go through it. It is one of those situations you don't really know what it's like until you go through it yourself, because some people handle it completely different than others. And so it's definitely kind of like an individual approach to how you come back from it. And so there's a lot of strong fighters out there that had to do it longer than me, had to do it shorter than me, but in the end, it sucked. But I learned a lot about myself and how to overcome a difficult challenge from it.
Was it weird playing with the knee brace? Because I feel like you don't see too many soccer players with knee braces on.
I think it's badass, by the way.
We're knee brace guys. We're knee brace guys.
I hated that thing because, first of all, like I said earlier, I don't like to wear layers in soccer. Like it just,
okay.
So having like a brace that was so big, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But the second thing that was really bad about it was there's like some Velcro straps on it, and it's also like kind of some metal in that brace. So it would scrape against my other leg whenever I would run.
Yeah, no thanks.
And sometimes when I would kick a soccer ball, so by the end of practice, I'd look over, my other leg is bleeding. Just from getting scraped up from my brace throughout it. So the day I finally got to stop wearing that thing was the best day ever.
Sauce, you know what her saying she doesn't like layers when she plays reminds me of? One of the thick laws. The thick laws.
That's true. Okay, so Sinclair, we have a society that we have started for athletes of the thick variety, right? Just big, burly athletes, and we have a code of conduct, if you will, for being a large human. And one of those things is you're only allowed 2 layers, right?
Okay.
So in a way, you are following the guidelines of the Thick Athletes Society by not wearing layers.
She gets a bid.
She gets a bid, most definitely.
I get a bid. Thank goodness.
Sinclair ends up being the first female member of the Thick Athletes Society. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Look at us.
Who would have thought?
Not me. Not me. So if I read correctly, which it's possible that I read incorrectly because dumb brain, but one of your first games back after the ACL meniscus injury, you had an absolute missile 35-yard goal that you couldn't believe went in, but like
had no idea.
Right. but we talk about, going from the injury and then to the draft, but even that little moment like that has got to be like, I'm back.
Yeah. I mean, okay, this is not to sound cocky, but which one are you talking about? Because there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them.
So the one that we saw was a video, and I couldn't tell you who the opposing team was, but it was a 35-yard goal.
Okay, did it look like it was like coming from the grandstand, or did it look like it was coming from behind the goal, like the video angle?
From the grandstand, and you went upper right.
Okay, yeah, okay. So that was the second one.
Oh.
So, you guys are just gonna love this story. So, okay, so for college soccer, you play some exhibition games, so they don't count. So this goal doesn't actually count.
It counts right here.
It does. It counts right here in the heart. So we play an exhibition game. So like I mentioned, I got cleared on the first day of preseason. We played an exhibition game 4 days later. So this was the first soccer game I'd played against another team since that Wisconsin game.
Okay.
So we're playing UNO at home, which Nebraska Omaha.
Okay.
And we're already up 1-0 at this point, and I had started in this game, so had so many like nerves. This was the first time I was playing against a team that didn't know about, like, because kind of in practice, some players were like a little hesitant to like go fully into a tackle with me because they're like, okay, she like just got cleared, don't go slide tackling at her. And so this is the first time we're playing against a team where they don't have that hesitation and everything like that. And so I think we're like 30 minutes into the first half. We had a corner kick, and So I always kind of stayed back because I could hit a long range shot. So anytime the ball popped out and I had time, I would take a shot.
Would you call that a rocket leg? What's the terminology in soccer for somebody with a strong leg?
Boot.
A boot?
Yeah, yeah, she's got a boot.
She's got a boot on her.
Yeah. And so in this corner kick, the ball pops out. I'm probably like 25 yards out. It had gone over one of my teammates, and later she told me that she saw it coming to me, and she just goes, "Go ahead, Sinky, take the shot." And so I take it, upper right hand corner, and my first soccer game back, scored a goal, and my teammates on the field were a little upset with me at this point because, well, not like at this point, but right after that, instead of me celebrating on the field with them, I ran to the bench because I wanted to celebrate with everybody. And so they were mad that I made them run an extra 40 yards to the bench to celebrate with me. But yeah, so that one is the first one, but the other one was against Baylor, and that goal does kind of come up a lot. But that's honestly, that one's my second favorite of my college career.
Steph Curry.
Awesome.
But yeah, that one was crazy. I'll give you that. That one for sure was a little crazy.
Now, you're not just an athlete. You are extremely smart. You were on the all academic Big Ten team a couple of times, but you also spend a lot of time giving back to the community. And one of the things that I saw you do has to do with like wheelchair soccer and helping those who are disabled have access to soccer. Can you talk about how important that aspect of life is to you?
I love working with Special Olympics organizations that are promoting athletics with children and persons with disabilities. I think it's so huge. I think it's a great organization to give back to. And so my freshman year when I came into Nebraska, this was kind of already a program that had been set up, or not a program, but like a partnership. The Nebraska soccer team would help coach a power wheelchair soccer team at a rehabilitation center in Lincoln. There are some incredible athletes, and I had never heard of wheelchair soccer. I had no clue like what to expect my first time going. And so essentially it's young adults and kids in power wheelchairs, and they attach these shields to the front of them to cover their legs. And then we play with these massive soccer balls. Like I'm trying to okay, so like they almost look like the size of an exercise ball.
Okay.
How big these soccer balls are. And so we play on a basketball court, and just 2 goals on each end, and I think it's 4 people and a goalie, or 4 players and a goalie.
Okay.
For each team at a time, and the way that they are able to pass a soccer ball with their wheelchairs is absolutely incredible. Like I would have to train for like 2 years to figure out how to just pass. Like these kids are incredible in how they are able to do this, and they're like really good. And so that was something I loved doing. We did it once a week for like 2.5 hours. And so through my first 3 years, that was my Wednesday nights. That was my thing to do in the fall. We only ever did it in the fall because that's when their season was. Unfortunately, just the timing of it didn't work out for my senior year, and I was really sad about it. But every Wednesday, and it was really cool to just be able to like build relationships with the kids too. And so there was actually one point where I went and volunteered in an adaptive PE program at one of the Lincoln high schools, and one of the kids from wheelchair soccer was in my adaptive PE class. So it was really cool to be able to go and interact with him too, even in school, and still keep up with him. And there was a couple of the kids had other activities outside of wheelchair soccer. We would go and support them because we just love to see how creative they all were. There was one girl, she had a dance recital, so we went to it. And honestly, they're just some amazing people who just unfortunately are not blessed with the same abilities that I am. And so I love to give back to them as much as possible. I love to interact with them.
Yeah.
and help them and help give them what sports has been able to give me. Being able to build relationships with people and make memories and honestly just have fun.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part of it.
That is so awesome that that you I guess that you're able to recognize that there is that conglomerate of people that needs that recognition and needs to be given the same opportunities that you're given. And I think it's so cool that you do that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Sauce brought up the wheelchair soccer. And I'm like, that just sounds electric. And then you said it. I'm like, oh, this is electrifying. Thank you for sharing that. So is it about that time?
Yeah, I think it's time for the See Us movement question. Sinclair, I don't know if you are familiar with the See Us movement, but the See Us movement spreads awareness about female athletes being underrepresented, sexualized, and judged on appearance rather than ability. And this podcast is sponsored by the See Us movement, and Cub has our See Us movement question.
Did you put a promo code?
Oh, my bad. If you go to Jeez, I got it backward. If you go to seeusmovement.com, look around in their store. If you find something that you like, enter promo code missed call for 10% off of your next purchase. Cub, now please hit us with the See Us movement question.
Sinclair, we want to know, as an athlete, have you ever been judged on how you look rather than how you play?
Yes.
And
I have.
And more so than just a yes/no question, can we talk about that experience? And one of the things that we're dedicated to at the Missed Call podcast is being allies for women in sports, and also being kind of arrowheads to help. I guess I might have lost for a word here, but being arrowheads to help bring awareness to women in sports and
give them a higher. We're basically what he's trying to say is we're here to help give awareness to female sports because they don't get enough. They don't get a big enough platform.
Essentially, I was looking for very educated words. I was looking for big boy words, and I couldn't find the big boy words. I've said this many times before, but Cub nailed it on the head. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just growing up in kind of like a country that they prioritize male sports. They kind of just look at women's sports as, oh, they're pretty. It's like it's fun to watch them because they're nice to look at, but not necessarily because they're great athletes or they're skilled. I definitely went through that in high school. I would hear comments about like, oh, I'm only going to the girls' soccer game because I just want to like watch this girl because she's really hot. Or like, oh, you're playing against that girl she's so pretty, or like, she's so pretty, she's so hot, like I want to date her. I'm just going to go to your soccer game just to like see her. And so it's really unfortunate that a lot of people will just kind of put the value of an athlete just based on how they look, instead of recognizing that there's some amazing female athletes out there that are strong, intelligent, and just powerful. And I mean, I also saw it in college. There was always comments about like, oh, the soccer team has the hottest girls in the athletic department. But instead of saying like the soccer team is filled with great people, like, or there's like this one girl in my class, she's really smart, and so I'm going to go to the soccer game because, you know, she's super nice to me in class and things like that. Or I want to see how well she performs, or I just want to see a great game of soccer. Right. It's unfortunate that female sports don't get as much of the recognition or the coverage. And so I'm really excited to be joining a league that is trying to change that and trying to increase the exposure of women's soccer. And I think what the national team players are doing great, or are doing currently, is phenomenal about demanding for equal pay and trying to fight for equality, not just on payment, but even in facilities, travel, medical staff, everything like that. For how successful they are, it's crazy to think that that's even still in question of what they deserve. And so I'm very excited to be joining a league that promotes that and stands by that for sure.
And going off that, guys get mad when girls say they like, say, football, and then they you're only watching because you think he's hot. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sinclaire, I was going to bring up the point that I guess I was going to elaborate on the point that you brought up, in that you're joining the National Women's Soccer League, and that is, it's crazy that I was going through the national team roster and I'm like, oh, I know her, I know her, I know her, I know her. And then I went to the men's roster and I said, I don't know any of these people. I don't know any of these people. And somehow, I mean, if we're just talking strictly off of name recognition and just knowing who that person is, I know far more women in soccer than I know men in soccer. So it's been crazy that the fight for equal pay has been such an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Because soccer in America, I think, this is just my opinion, and maybe I'm right or maybe I'm wrong, but women's soccer in America is far more popular than men's soccer in America.
I agree, 100%.
And so I just feel like innately this should be where it wouldn't be an uphill battle, but it is. And even the lawsuit that they filed has been dismissed. And again, the uphill battle continues.
Yes, it does. And, but I know that everybody involved with that lawsuit is never going to give up on it. And that's inspiring in itself, is that they're not willing to just say, oh, well, we tried. They're saying, we're going to keep pushing this. Probably some of them will probably keep pushing for it once they do retire and whenever they choose to do so.
Going to push for that till she dies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I look forward to watching it. You know, it's something that, you know, for women in history, just even like outside of sports, they have had to have a long fight to get what they deserve on an equal stance to get to what men have. I mean, you look at right to vote, you look at Title IX, just even like equal rights and everything like that.
There's been a lag for women in any right in society, and you're right,
absolutely.
But we're excited to watch you grow in that league and team up with some of those girls as you continue to grow in your professional career. The last thing I wanted to ask, as we're still on the CS movement question, is outside of supporting women athletes, what can men who watch women's sports, what can they continue to do to be allies, or what can they start doing to be allies?
You know, outside of watching it, but it's going to your local professional sports, even if it's sometimes making even donations to them to help them grow with advertising and everything like that. It can even be if you can't, like, if there's not like a team in your area, it's even honestly even social media's presence. Men can help with that, whether it's like retweets or tweeting about watching it, everything like that. Men who have daughters, you know, show them female athletes. Yeah, exactly. You know, show them female athletes, show them female role models, everything like that. Try to learn about the women's game, because, you know, the women's game is different than the men's game. I think that can be said for, you know, all professional sports, soccer, basketball, you know, softball is different than baseball. But trying to just educate yourself on that, the differences in them, but then also like sharing your knowledge with other people about what you learn. I think simple things like that are easy ways to help support the women's game and help it grow.
Yeah, these are things Stocks and I talk about all the time. We're like, how can we do more? Because you can never do enough. There's always something to help out with, and we appreciate you giving us that answer, because we want to know more and help out as much as we possibly can. On that note, Stocks.
Yeah, the thinking is over, Sinclaire. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna have some fun here to end the show.
Can't wait.
Now, we know that you're a big Kansas City sports fan, and you were particularly intrigued at the fact that when you graduated high school, the Royals won the World Series, and now you're graduating college and the Chiefs have won a Super Bowl. Well, you've got nothing left to graduate from, so I assume it's going to be a very long drought for Kansas City sports. But
no, please don't say that. Please don't say that.
Here's the question. If Salvador Perez and Patrick Mahomes are hanging off of a cliff and you can only save one, which one dies?
Oh, that's so hard.
But
I feel like I have to save Mahomes because I honestly think if this was like news of like, all right, Sinclair has to pick, I think Kansas City would riot. Nothing against
if you didn't
pick up everybody loves him, but if I didn't save Pat Mahomes, I actually think the city would riot, and I would be shunned out of Kansas City. I would never.
You'd be put in a witness protection program like Steve Bartlett.
I would. I really would.
I think the whole country would come at you because name a person Mahomes. No one.
No one.
No.
Somebody who doesn't like Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. No one.
The 49ers in general, like 49ers.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, they probably like hate him because they won, but like you can't not respect him as like a person.
He's a good dude. He seems very unproblematic too.
He's also just really good. I mean, you have to respect it. I mean, yes, you can hate him if you aren't a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but like at the end of it, but like it's kind of like it's just I hate him because my team has to play against him kind of thing.
Right.
I think everybody does love Patrick Mahomes though.
I'm obsessed with him.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to the parade too.
I did.
You want to talk about that?
It was freezing. It was freezing.
This seems like a commonality. Like it seems like you get stuck in a lot of really freezing cold places.
I know. I live in cold areas, so hopefully North Carolina will be warmer for more of the year. So I went to the parade. So I'd also gone to the Royals parade, and I had learned my lesson from that because that one was thrown together really fast. There was not a lot of organizational components into it. Food was very scarce. It was so hard to find food downtown. You're down there for like 6 hours. You're going to get hungry.
Yeah.
And bathrooms were hard to find. It was hard to get through the crowds. And so Kansas City definitely learned their lesson when they did the Chiefs one. And also, unfortunately, there was less numbers at the Chiefs one because it was way colder. Mm-hmm. I think had the weather not been so bad, there really would have been more Chiefs fans there. And so I think we left from where I live around like 7:30 in the morning. It takes like 25 to 30 minutes to get to downtown from where I live. Got right in, found a parking spot about a mile and a half from the Liberty Memorial, which is where we were planning to go because we just wanted to see the rally. And we're there around like we probably got to our spot at 8:30. Okay. And the rally didn't start until 1:30 that afternoon. And it's below freezing. It was kind of snowing a little bit. And so had to try and figure out how to stay warm for 7 to 8 hours.
Just an awful day to be outside.
And it was terrible. Okay, guys, I actually did wear layers for this.
No way.
She's a liar.
I know. Okay, but I wasn't playing sports this time. I was just standing. I just hate wearing layers when I play sports. So I was actually wearing 6 layers. I wore 6 layers for this. Like I had like 6 different tops on, and I had at least 4 pants on, and then thick boots with 3 pairs of socks on.
Thick boots.
And
if you're gonna do it, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. And I mean, I was rotating hand warmers every 3 to 4 hours. And I actually made it through without being cold until the rally started is when my toes started to get cold. And the rally lasted about an hour and a half. And then got back in the car and I was home by 5 p.m. So it was great.
As soon as the toes start to go, it's going to get pretty bad.
Toes, it's over. It's over.
Now, I was going to say I went to the Cubs parade when they won. I'm a big Chicago sports fan, and
I bet that was huge.
There were 5 million people.
Oh my!
Only for the just there for the parade. It was the most insane gathering of anything I've ever been.
I believe it,
and I hate crowds. Like, I don't like going to concerts and things like that because crowds just aren't my thing. But I was a part of the second largest gathering in North American history.
That's something to be proud of right there. Can you put that on your resume?
I don't know that it would get me qualified for anything, but I could definitely do it.
Hey, you never know.
So, growing up with Jenna Gray, you guys had some.
You had to know the dirt was coming. You had to know it was coming.
I had to prepare for this question.
So
there's a couple of them, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I'm ready for this. I'm ready.
So you and Jenna Gray grew up together. You guys would play some weird games, and one of them was a mummy game where they would wrap you up in blankets and they would tape your face, except they would leave a hole for your mouth and they would wrap up random concoctions and make you guess what it was. Do you remember any of these?
I remember all of them. Okay, so in our little friend group of 4, I was always the one that kind of got kind of picked on, but like I was always the person that also kind of like volunteered to do the crazy things. And so we were at one of our friends' house and they like duct taped me to kind of like a camping air mattress, like one of those thin ones you put under your sleeping bag.
Okay.
They had tied me to it. They had taped my entire face and then just like left a mouth hole for me to breathe. Thank goodness. And then they like drew a face on it. And then yeah, they would feed me snacks and I would have to try and guess what it was. And the one that got me was they took a goldfish and they opened it up and they poured some hot red pepper flakes on it, closed it, and then I ate it. And then I didn't get any water or milk from it. And then I had to slide down the stairs while taped to this mattress.
I'm literally just.
We were some weird kids.
Wait, they sent you down the stairs afterwards?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm literally just picturing you looking like a dead body, essentially. Like someone like, we're gonna wrap this dead body up and bury it. That's what you look like.
And feed it red pepper flakes.
There's a picture of it somewhere, and it honestly looks like a crime scene body.
I need
this kind of like we should destroy this picture because this looks really bad.
I know this happened years ago, but I'm scared for you now.
Yeah, we don't do as much crazy stuff like that anymore. But when we were kids, we used to do some crazy stuff.
Now, was anybody else ever taped to the mattress and force-fed objects?
No,
only
it was just
you.
me. It was just me.
We got more dirt.
That's hilarious.
Oh, good. I can't wait for this.
So, we also heard that you're terrified of E.T.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Still?
I've kind of like I've kind of grown out of it a bit.
Okay.
I still just like won't watch the movie because it's just creepy. But when I was younger, I was afraid of E.T. And so one time Jenna locked me in a closet and she just made E.T. noises outside. And I was just like in this closet, like crying, terrified for my life. And I knew something like this was gonna come up. I knew it. Knowing Jenna, I knew something like this was coming up.
There was another one, but we're not bringing that one up.
I can only imagine what it was.
You're glad we're not bringing it up. It's that bad.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Oh my God.
You okay, Sauce?
What?
I said, Sauce, you okay?
I'm okay. That was hilarious. She locked you in the closet?
She literally locked me in the closet. And I think she only let me out because I like started crying and I think she started to feel bad. So then she let me out. And then I think she and her sister had to like talk to me and tell me that like it really wasn't E.T. outside and that they were like
Now, when we talked to Jenna last week, we knew she was a prankster going into it, but that's just some next level evilness.
Yes.
Now we asked.
No, I used to consult Jenna because in college I used to have prank wars as well. I would text. Okay. Jenna was the first person I would text, and I would say, "I'm having a prank war. Do you have any new pranks for me?" And then she would send me some to use.
It was just paragraphs of this is what you do step by step.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I got one more.
Amazing.
This is just a question since you went to Nebraska, the corn husker.
Okay.
What's your favorite kind of corn?
There's different kinds of corn.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound so bad.
Do you go through them?
I didn't know there's.
Okay.
No.
You got popped.
Oh.
Creamed, canned, and sweet corn.
Corn on the cob.
And then cobbed. And then cobbed. Then cobbed.
I'm gonna have to go with popped.
Candy corn.
Everyone likes candy corn.
Okay, I actually do like candy corn.
And now you look like a buffoon, Covert.
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So the favorite corn would be
Popped. I have to go with popped.
Works for me. Now, I think we should end on this because we heard a story of a tragic loss from your childhood. When we interviewed Jenna Gray last week, she talked about losing in the ping pong tournament, and you were her partner in that ping pong tournament.
I was.
If you remember, walk us through that defeat and how that fueled you to be the athlete that you are today.
Okay, so I'll be honest with you guys. I had a feeling this question was coming up, so I did some digging.
No
and
way.
I actually found the photo of Jenna and I at this ping pong tournament.
Oh my God.
Remember how she talked about our team name was Shake and Bake? We had shirts made. We had the sweatbands. Can you guys see this?
Oh no!
That's amazing.
This is Jenna and I at our ping pong tournament and with our Shake and Bake shirts and our sweatpants.
And with the perfect, this was like the pose. If you went to
this was the pose. This is like circa 2012. This was the pose. This was the pose to do. And the best part about these shirts. Oh yeah, that was another one. But the best part about those shirts is on the back of them. It has so Jenna was El Diablo and I was Magic Man. So it has those on the back, but then on the towards the bottom of the back, it says, "I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey." I'm not kidding you. We went all out for this. But that ping pong tournament, I mean, I would have to agree with Jenna. That's probably the most upset I've been that we lost something because we tried so hard for this ping pong tournament. And so when we got to this tournament, we didn't fully realize that they were like hard. Our opponents were hardcore enforcing the so-called rules for this, and that you had to, when you serve the ball, you had to toss the ball 6 inches in the air. And okay, maybe these are like real ping pong rules, but like I feel like nobody really plays these. And so you had to, so like if we didn't do that, they would be like, "No, that's our point. You guys didn't do that." So we're like, "What?"
Was there no official?
And then no, it was just like call your own ruls.
You're just left to your own devices? Oh no.
We were like, "What?" And then it also was every other, or each person had to hit every other shot. So like I would hit one over, then they'd return it, and then Jenna had to hit it, and if I hit it, then it was a point for the other team. So like when we like did the trials at our middle school, like they like talked about these rules, but we didn't really enforce them. So we're kind of like, all right, we can like get away with it. But no, our opponents were like hardcore enforcing it. And so, you know, we had to kind of like figure it out on the fly of like, okay, how are we still going to have these power serves, but from 6 inches in the air? And then, you know, Jenna, as soon as you hit the ball, like get out of the like width of the table so I have room to hit it, kind of thing. Like we were like sprinting in this, and unfortunately we got taken down. It was I think it was a fairly close match. I think we lost by like 3 points.
I love
and
that
then
you recall this all so vividly. Like this loss legitimately affected the both of you.
Yes, and then like Jenna said, we went to high school. We couldn't redeem ourselves, and Jen and I went to different high schools, so we like really couldn't redeem ourselves if one of our high schools had a tournament. So it was really unfortunate. That was how we went out on our intramural careers, was a loss in the semis.
One of the best teams to never get a ring, Shake and Bake.
Yes, Shake and Bake.
Oh,
I'm waiting for my 30 for 30 call on the Shake and Bake ping pong team.
What if I told you that 2 girls that went all out would actually go out and lose?
And where are they now?
I would say that they're
Oh,
both in very, very good standings in the world of professional sports. But
It
Sinclair,
fueled our fire. Fueled our
most
fire. For sure.
definitely, most definitely. Sinclair,
Mhm.
thank you so much for stopping by. We know that time is precious, and we appreciate you stopping by to talk to a couple losers like us. It means more than you will ever know. I'll say this before Cub takes over. Good luck this season. We hope that we can find some way out to North Carolina, or maybe we can even see you in Chicago when you come to play the Red Stars. But either way,
Hopefully.
good luck. We can't wait to see you on the big screen.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was so much fun. Honestly, this was one of my highlights of quarantine for sure.
I'm gonna cash in on that. Honest to God, I'm gonna cash in on that. I think
go.
that Cub is frozen. Yeah, see, now he's coming back in. Cub, did you have any closing remarks? No, he's gone. All right,
maybe
we're
not.
going to sit here in this live feed, Sinclair. You and I are going to sit here until Cub gets back because he's the only one with authority to end the live stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, we're just chilling.
That
She's back.